Hey guys, it's Vandy back again for another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. And let's get one started. Today we have Dragon Empire Eugene for set 3. In all honesty, I would have done this sooner, but I forgot that I thought I did a set 3 Eugene deck profile, when in reality I didn't. It was just that I did 3 Dragon Empire fights all in a row without realizing it. I thought I did the Eugene deck profile along with them. Apparently I didn't. So Eugene deck profile is coming a bit later than it should have. It should have came like a few weeks ago, but better late than never, and it's still within the set 3 range. So set 3 Eugene, definitely an interesting deck. We got a good triple rare. We have a decently good double rare, I gotta say, and then we have an order that I never use because I never get to use it. And then we have another order that's really good, but I also never get to use it because I always either soul charge it or I damage check it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this started though, because the deck is really fun. First up, we have our starter, Luna! Bad! So let's go ahead to get this started. First up, our starter is Double Gun of Duststorm Bart. 6k base, 5k shield, grade 0 boost, auto when it's rolled upon. If you win second, you get to draw a card. Nothing too special about him, but he's the start of the Duststorm ride line. He's very important, and he has dual pistols. And if you know me, my favorite type of gun is dual pistols, all the way, baby. So automatically, this man has an A-OK in my book, and anyone who shits on him will get the horns. Or should I say the guns of death from this deck. Because this deck is really fun. I did think I would main Eugene when DE first started. That did not end up being the case. But Eugene has somehow stayed both one of my favorite decks and now is contending for my main between Nirvana. Nirvana still beats it outright. But in terms of somehow it's managed to beat Bruce and Bastion. So I'm not so sure how to consider this. Either way, I like the starter, and I won't change it for the world, mainly because it has the double guns. Next up, we have our Over Trigger and Dragon Deity King of Resurgence, Dragveda, 5k base, 50k shield, grade 0 boost. Over Trigger, you might have one Over Trigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, remove that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets +1 million for the turn. If revealed during your draft check, you get the additional effect, which is choose one of your Vanguards and stand it. So, your Vanguard gets a stand. Nothing too special out of it. In my opinion, it's not the best over trigger for this deck because since Eugene, especially if you're like me where you kind of want to use Eugene as much as possible because it bothers you not to use that Soul Blast 5 skill, or even if you're not using that, you're going to be drawing out and soul charging a lot, you're going to get decking out a lot quicker, and getting that extra drive check isn't that important, especially when you're calling most of your stuff from deck if you are going that Eugene use it every turn route. But I still like this over trigger. I feel like the drive check will come in helpful on some occasions. Plus, this is the deck I somehow drive check at the least. And when I say drive check at the least, I mean I still drive check it, but I also damage check it a lot more than I drive check it. Like, Dragon Empire Over Trigger in general, I see more in terms of just drive checking and damage checking compared to everyone else. But Dragveda, depending on which deck I'm playing, I see it more in one case than the other. Like, if I'm playing Eugene, I'm going to damage check it a lot more and soul charge it more. And if I'm playing Nirvana, I've seemed to drive check it a hell of a lot more, and for some reason I'll drive check it every game now. I don't know why. Did I become the chosen one? Am I now the anime protagonist? Am I Yu Yu Kondo? Where's my thick-ass jacket at? Either way, where's my friend named Danji Moyoyomi? Where is he? Anyways, all around, I like this over trigger. If you want to replace it with Obari, I can see it because, Obari gives more power, and I feel like the deck could use more power, but Dragveda still works too. Next up, we have our triggers, 3 copies of Rushing Dragon Steel Defo, draw trigger. Okay, before all of you start killing me, we all know why I do this. Actually, no, there's not really a reason to do it here because there's no, besides the word blaze, there's no actual typing-wise in this ND. There's no typing-wise in terms of what trigger archetypes go to, but I choose to run the draw trigger because there are rare occasions, especially if you're going from the call from hand route, where you're going to start needing hand cards, especially for guarding. I don't know why. A lot of people say you don't need draw triggers in Eugene. Maybe it's just the way I play Eugene, but these draw triggers have saved my ass on numerous occasions that I literally cannot count anymore. Just between discard fodder, actually drawing into pieces that I need to call, that I need for without Eugene's skill, followed by just, having barely enough shield to guard with because they're getting me more hand cards. I don't know why people say you don't need draw triggers. They've literally saved my ass so many times. I'm pretty sure half of those times have been caught on camera. So Take that as you will. 3 copies of this draw trigger. I will never turn my back on draw triggers, even in a deck that decks you out. I mean, I might turn my back on draw triggers just if we get more of them, but I will not throw out draw triggers so easily as everyone else has. So 3 copies of this. We run 4 copies of Blaze Maiden Parama, our front trigger, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguard's grade 3 good, it gets plus 5k shield. You know, the front trigger gets you the plus 10 to front row, gets you the more power that you need, because Eugene doesn't really hit for the biggest numbers. It still hits for okay numbers, especially now in set 3 where you can get more power, but you kind of want those fronts, and that's normally what people replace the draw trigger for. But also, you know, that 5k shield is really helpful, especially if you have to commit more from hand, if you don't run draws, or if the situation where you're not drawing a lot of good units that you want to use for Eugene's rest to get plus 10k and kill unit. So 4 copies of the front trigger because it's really helpful. 4 copies of our crit trigger and Burning Flail Dragon, 4k base, 15k shield, grade 0 with boost, critical trigger, auto, rear at the end of the battle that it boosted, shove to soul, choose movies, it gets plus 2. Okay, you do not run this for that 2k skill. Like, never, ever, like, never in my lifetime has the actual 2k in this scenario, with this card alone. I'm not saying in 2k in general, because there are cases where that 2k has helped, but not this specific 2k. Never since this thing has come out has that 2k been useful. And I use these a lot. I don't use them in any Brand Gate decks because, one, the critical trigger is not archetypal and it fits more in Aurora Battle Princess, but because all their triggers are Aurora Battle Princesses, that immediately eliminates the option for that. Diablos has it, or wait, no, not Diablos. Greedon has it, and so does Barrow Magnus. Point is, I run the crits in all my other decks, and I use them. That 2k, unless I have multiple of them, never makes a difference. The reason why I run these, and the reason why most of you probably run these, Shove It to Soul. In a Eugene deck where you kind of, you know, you don't want to start soul charging a lot from deck, it's worth it. And in all honesty, you may be wondering when is the best time to call this. Here, in my honest opinion, is when the best time to call it. Call it early. Be ballsy. Say, literally throw caution to the wind. Say, F it. Call the crit down, call your heals down. Maybe don't do that one, but my point still stands. Call your triggers, go for that rush, move your thing to soul, get the 2k, and kind of play from ear. Because if you put yourself at the disadvantage, in my opinion, one is more fun because, hey, you know, you're kind of going with the anime style comeback. You're going to show them what a real anime character looks like over here. But also, it's just like, I don't know why mind games, I guess, because I know a lot of people, or like a lot of games I play where I will make a play and then they will react differently than how they normally do when I use the exact same deck but an ever so slightly different play. Because I know my friend, and every time I make a slightly different play, and that's normally when I call triggers, for some reason he goes on the more aggressive, and I understand why, because obviously when you throw down a 15k trigger, obviously they're going to think that you have less guarding power, because you probably do, and they swing. It never works out for him, or most of the time it doesn't work out for him, and I win like the following turn or the turn after that. So, like literally the night before I did this with Gravidia, and it somehow worked out beautifully for me. Like I threw down all my PGs in one go. I did not need to do that. I literally had every reason not to throw down all PGs in one turn, especially because I was at 1 damage, but I did for some reason, and it worked. I only won because I did that, but it was long before we knew how the game was going to end. So, yeah, make stupid decisions and they will work out for you. But if you're the type of person that wants to go smart plays, go smart plays. There's no problem with smart plays, but I make stupid decisions. Then we have our heal trigger and White Light Dragon Parasolas, you know, just a standard heal, and it's a cute dinosaur thing. On to our actual main deck, because I spent about 9 minutes now just talking about triggers and weird stories. 2 copies of Twin Strike of Duststorm Orlando, our first new card. 8k base, 5k shield, greater with boost. I thought this was a double rare. Apparently this is a common. Or maybe just a rare. Either way, act soul. If your opponent's rear guard retired this turn, counterblast 1 call to rear. I've never used that, and I never will use that. I use my counterblast for other reasons. I do not use that on this. If it ends up in soul, it's probably staying in there for me, unless like I have the extra counterblast. But I am very cautious about that. If you know me, I have become very cautious over that resource. So yeah, I might never use that. And then auto rear, when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard attack, shove it to soul, choose a Vanguard, it gets plus 5. So your Vanguard just swings for 18 at the very least, because has to be a grade 3 or greater Vanguard. So, you know, at least 18, which is really good. You boost a rear guard with this thing, and then you swing with Vanguard that doesn't have a boost with the Tri-Bash behind it. Tri-Bash goes to soul, Vanguard's a crit. This goes to soul, your Vanguard's plus 5k. Okay, pretty decent skill. Now, that's actually really good, especially because you can just keep calling out of Soul, and that other skill to get the plus 5k is for free. So all around, it's a really good card, and the other reason why I like him, and partially the reason why I put him in the deck in the first place, he has those twin guns, baby. You know I gotta run him for those twin guns alone. Oh yeah, if he doesn't make it into the thumbnail, I know what card's gonna make it into thumbnail, but I am slightly tempted to put him in the thumbnail just because I can, because those twin guns. Aw, baby, yes, twin guns for real. Anyways, 2 copies because he's not the thing. He doesn't do a lot, but he does do a lot. So 2 copies because you don't, in my opinion, you don't want to see him too often, but you don't want to not see him. 3 copies of Drag Raider Idris, 5k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. The guy who a lot of people revived Eugene, or like brought Eugene up in the terms of just goodness because they gave him such a good double rare. In my opinion, I don't know why I don't like this card. I think it's good. I do think it's good, but I just don't like this thing. I love its art. Some part of me questions the skill for some reason, and then just playing him feels wrong. I don't know why. Act rear, if your opponent's rear guard is retired this turn, counterboss won't perform one of the following, it gets plus 10, or put it to soul, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. So, you know, and that's not a once per turn. So, if you just give it the plus 10 constantly, you could just pay counterblast 5, give it plus 50. Why you would do that, unless it's your final turn declaration and you know they don't have a PG in hand, is beyond me, but sure. That's a possibility. But also, you know, you could just shove it into soul and still get a kill out of it, so you could reduce the number of rear guards more and then have more fodder for Eugene, because you just got a soul, and hey, now they have 2 open rear guard circles all around. Really nice grade 1, can either get you soul and a kill, or can get power, and it's not a once per turn on it, so 3 copies. The only downside to it, it's a 5k base, but that is easily fixable by its skill. Next up, we have our 4 PGs in Twin Bucker Dragon. Yeah, the thing that I cut from my Nirvana deck that I will always bring up because I just find it so funny how it worked. 6k base, grade 1 boost, 5-0 shield. Continue Sentinel, you have up to 4 Sentinels in your deck. Auto, when it's placed on guard circle, choose one of your units. It cannot be hit to battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from hand and discard it. So, standard PG, nothing too special about it. I like it. I feel like I've said that so many times. At this point, I feel like I just copy. If I didn't know, if I wasn't recording this myself, I feel like I would just go find the old deck profile on any other Dragon Empire deck that has the Twin Buckler Dragon in it, or like the PGs, and then I would just copy and paste that part over into this portion, because it feels like I just say the same thing over and over again, but that's true. Anyways, you know, with this card, if only this and 1 other card's in your hand, when you play this down to guard circle, the attack doesn't go through. I know I've said that before. Either way, you don't have to discard for it either, which is really nice. I like Twin Buckler for that skill. All the PGs have it nowadays, or most of them have it nowadays. So all around, it's really good. 4 copies. 4 copies of our last grade 1 in our grade 1 in the ride deck. Gunning of Duststorm Nigel, 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto, when is rode upon by Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor, soul charge 1. And this is where I began to hate, or where it began to bother me, that you having to ride on specific units. I don't know why the trial deck cards didn't bother me about this, but when I first saw things like this coming out of the booster sets, that's when this bothered me. I don't know why it didn't bother me with Hexor, but this bothered me for some reason. So, that's Soul Charge. Really nice, because just straight up for free, and all you have to do is ride a Randor on top of it, and unfortunately, you have to ride a Randor. If you don't, it doesn't go off, which sucks, but it's fine. And then Auto Rear, when your opponent's rear guards are retired during your main phase, counterboss 1, kill itself, choose an opponent's rear guard and murder it. So, you know, if you can rest this with Eugene and another card, kill a rear guard, because the unit was killed, you can counterblast 1 and retire this rested unit, and then you can kill another rear guard. So all around, it's really nice. Definitely makes for good rest fodder with Eugene, and all around is a really good card to use. So 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. Plus, on the rare occasions that I keep him on the field, he does look cool, so, you know, that's a plus. On to our grade 2s, 4 copies of Strong Fortress Dragon. Gibra Brachio, the thing that also, like, Idris revived Eugene for people. I don't know why I'm saying revived. Eugene, but it's literally was set 2 when these 2 came out, and for some reason I'm saying it like Eugene was dead in set 1, even though I guess a lot of people considered it dead because I think it topped in like 1 tournament and that was it. I'm not so sure. I don't pay attention to those type of things, but accordingly it topped in like 1 tournament. And then this happened, and Eugene got ever so slightly more popular, same with Hexa Orb, so yeah, I guess, like, it jolted Eugene back to life, I guess, or jolted it to life instead of back to life. Anyways, grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, act rear if your vanguard is heavily artillery of Duststorm Eugene, so that's 1, rest it, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So, you know, way to just get a rear guard out of the field. Unfortunately, you have to Soul Blast for it, but it's fine. And auto rear at the start of your battle phase. If your opponent has one or less rear guards, stand this unit, it gets +5 for the turn. So, if they have one or less, or so basically if they have 1 or 0, restand this boy, he gets +5, so you can basically use his skill to kill a unit, use Eugene's skill to kill another unit, or just rest him and Nigel with it, and then use Nigel's skill to kill another unit, and then just restand this. Either way, all around, really good grade 2, does its job really well. 4 of. 4 of Howitzer of Duststorm, Dustin. Okay, this thing. I love the word howitzer. I don't know why I love the word howitzer. I've heard it on a lot of cool looking... I know there was an Abigail card from Buddy Fight that had it, and that's part of the reason why I like it. But there was another thing from another anime that I watched that I literally do not remember which one it was. But something from it was called Howitzer, and it looked so cool to me when I was younger. And even though I've rewatched it, and it didn't look as cool as me the second time around, I still have respect for it from my younger self. So I just have idolized the word Howitzer for the longest time now, and I don't know why. But I like this card. So anyways, Dustin, 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 intercept are triple rare. Auto when it's placed on rear. If your Vanguard is Heavenly Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, put a card from hand to soul, draw a card, choose an opponent's grade 2 or grade rear guard, and retire it. So a way to get rid of an interceptor / a pesky grade 3. Haha, Bastion, we have the counter to you now. And best part is it can be placed from anywhere. It can be placed from deck, it can be placed from hand, it can be placed from drop zone somehow, soul somehow, damage zone somehow, I don't know, order zone if this managed to get there. Actually, yeah, technically it could because prison is a thing. So all around, that's really good because it also gets you a hand card so you can use Eugene easier and still gets you the kill off a rear guard, and it's just a draw. So basically it's just change out a hand card and kill a rear guard. And auto rear, when this unit attacks Soul Blast 1, it gets +2 to end the battle for each of your opponent's open rear guard circles. They stole that straight from Mabooty. They stole that straight from Dragon Knight Mabooty. Except it's not a counter blast, it's a Soul Blast, but still. All around, I like that skill. If they have 0 rear guards, it's a 20k swing plus a Persona Ride, 30k swing plus an 8k booster, 38k swing. All around, really nice. Dustin's an amazing grade 2. It is what Eugene needed. It is both the man we needed and the man we deserve because Eugene is top tier. I said that a long time ago, I'm pretty sure. Or if I didn't, I meant to say that back when Eugene was in set 1 and no one liked it. Or everyone thought it was bad. Well, guess what? Now Eugene is slightly better than what it was in set 1. Or technically, definitely better in set 1. So back the hell off. I was right. I have the power of fortune telling. 4 copies of this guy. 1 copy of our last grade 2 and our main grade 2, or grade 2 in the ride line. Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor. Why did they give this the word cataclysmic? Every time when I see the word cataclysmic, I feel like it should have been on Eugene. This should have been Heavy Bullet of Duststorm Randor and Cataclysmic Artillery of Duststorm Eugene. Those would have been so much better names. Speaking of which, and I'm still pissed off about this, why call it Eugene? You have a Heavy Artillery of Duststorm. Oh yes, a cool sounding name, and all of them have guns and are like warriors of the deserts, and then you just give them the most generic name, Eugene. Dustin, okay, that's a fair name, I guess. Orlando, that's a state. Come on, people. Nigel, that's a name I rarely hear, actually. Randor, okay, a name I also rarely hear. Why Eugene? It's such a generic name. Come on, people. Anyways, auto ones wrote upon by Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene. Draw a card, choose up to 1 card from drop, put it to soul. So basically use your ride deck fodder and then shove it to soul. So all around really nice, you get an extra soul out of it, and you get a draw for free. And auto van rear, when this unit attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and this unit gets +5 for the battle. So all around, that is really good. If they have 1 unit or 2 units at the very most, you get a soul charge out of it, and it gets +5. I use it a lot at 4 of because in the early game for Eugene, because I would just like to call 2 of them onto the board, maybe just put 1 on the Vanguard and then call the other one, and then I just kind of swing, get the 5k, get a soul charge, prepare for next turn. So all around, Randor was really good back then. It still is good now, but you never use that ability anymore because you kind of can't call it out from drop, unfortunately, and it's going to just stay in soul. So either way, it's a good grade 2, and I like it, and I will always have respect for it because it did carry me for the first time that Eugene was just in set 1. So 1 copy of him in the ride deck. If they give us a way to call from soul, I might consider it. On to grade 3s, we run 3 copies of Penetrate Dragon Tribash, 13k base, grade 3 200 Persona Ride. Auto rear, when your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guard, shove to soul, choose a Vanguard, it gets a crit. Okay, people, I'm going to tell you this right now as a person who has been on the receiving end of this, and as a person who has been using this against people. If they play a Tribash, even if you are at 2 damage, guard it. Do not be dumb. I don't know why. I find it similar to the Bastion Curse, and if you don't know what that is, or like, I call it the Bastion Curse. I'm not so sure if there's an actual term for it. But basically, if you paid attention to like any YouTuber video, or like most YouTuber videos, I believe, at least the ones I watched, if someone was playing Bastion with a trial deck, whenever they would use Forts on Ride skill from Rooks, they would always see, you know, the reveal 2 grade 3s called the top card of your deck. They would always see a heal trigger. I would see a heal trigger. A lot of people I saw would see heal triggers. And I just started calling it the Bastion Curse because you just see heal triggers out of random and everyone would do it. Now, it's the same thing here, where I see people who are at 2 damage, and like someone uses Trabash, right? And then they go to double crit, and they're like, okay, the most I'll go to is 4. They probably won't pull 2 crits, and even if they pull 1, I'll be at 5. Okay, yeah, logically, yes, that makes sense. But that doesn't mean it will always work. Literally every time I do this to someone, I kill them with this. I have seen videos where people will just use 1 Tribash, pull 2 crits because the opponent thinks that they won't die because they're at 2 damage, and then they don't pull heals or over triggers. The actual hell. I have survived this because I literally knew about the Tribash curse, or the Eugene curse, before it, and I just PG'd the Eugene, and I was right to do so because they pulled 2 crits from it. I was smart. I saw it coming. Don't be dumb. If they use a Tribash, even if you're at 2 damage, guard it. Do not be stupid. If you all lose because of that, I warned you. Don't heed my warning. Heed it. Heed my warning. I'm warning you now before all of you lose to Tribash. 3 copies of the thing because it's literally for free, and it's the extra crit, which kills people a lot somehow. 4 copies of Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene. Grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Ride, 13k base. The first grade 3 I was interested in D because I didn't like Nirvana. I just became really uninterested in Eugene because it just felt really uncomfortable playing. And thanks to like a few test play matches, I learned that I loved Nirvana so much, and I just abused it to its holy extents. And I've carried Eugene along with me because it was supposed to be in my deck with me, and I'm glad I kept it because set 2 really gave me some faith in Eugene, and then set 3 reinforced that faith, and set 4 I have faith will make Eugene even better. So anyways, onto its skill. Act Vanguard once per turn, rest 2 rear guards, choose an opponent's rear guard and kill it, and this unit gets plus 10k for the turn. So 23k, and a lot of people criticize that because Eugene always got power, but it never had power to the rear guards, which it needed. That 10k though is really helpful on the Vanguard, because like Tribash makes it harder to guard, or makes them want to guard it, so that 10k makes it harder for them to guard, followed by it gets a kill out of a rear guard. And because your rear guards are so interchangeable, like Geek Bracco over here and Nigel, you always want to use that, and same with Tribash, so all around you have perfect rest fodder. And then Act Vanguard once per turn. If your opponent's rear guard was retired this turn, Soul Blast 5, look at the same number of cards at the top of your deck as the number of opponent's open rear guard circles. Choose any number of unit cards from among them, call in a rear, and put the rest to Soul. So basically a way to either just Soul Charge 5 if your top 5 was really unlucky, or just call a huge board, like call 2, send 3 to Soul. That's normally how my ratios were. And all around, a lot of people had a problem with that at the start because it was like your opponent has to have a rear guard for you to kill, otherwise that ability doesn't go off. And yeah, that's still a problem now, but it's still good. I like that skill a lot. Get you a board. I have somewhat been grown to like hate it and not hate it because quite literally every time I do it, I see an over trigger from it, or almost every time I do it, I see an over trigger from it. Because I remember so many times early on when I first played Eugene, I got the sense that, I don't know why, but I feel like the over trigger is within the next top 4. I would look at the top 5 for my skill. Literally the 4th card was always the over trigger. I mean, not always, but like my point stands that I would always see an over trigger when I think I would see an over trigger. And for some reason, I didn't think it through that I might see the over trigger. And it happened, and I always got screwed over by it because those were the games I was going to win if I didn't do that. So, you know, if you have the feeling that the over trigger's at the top, or that you're going to drive check triggers and you need them, don't do it. Don't be dumb. Don't be like me. I did it so you don't have to. All around, Eugene's good though. Get you that board, get you that soul to reuse it next turn, get you power, and you have perfect rest fodder for his skill. Honestly, I have no complaints with this card. He looks really cool doing it. 4 copies. My only complaint is his name. And then our last 2 cards are both orders. First up, we have our own special Blitz order for Eugene. Ambush, Kill, Smoke. Grade 2 Blitz order. Play it by counterblasting 1. If your Vanguard is Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, choose one of your Vanguards. It gets plus 10k for the battle, so slightly less than your Burn Pure Prayers. And at the end of that battle, choose one of your rear guards. Choose one of the rear guards that boosted for that battle and retire it. So, a way to wipe out more rear guards. Now that is really good, just because it kills the rear guard, honestly, and it gets the Vanguard plus 10. Easy way to like kill stuff before your next turn, where you kind of need to kill stuff yourself. All around, I like this thing. I give it a 2 of. It's really good. If you want to replace it with Burn Brave Pure Prayers because it gets that extra 5k shield, I say go for it. I'm kind of interchangeable between the two, but I like this one more. And then our last card, which is our new order, Best Harvest. Grade 3 normal order. Choose one of your vanguards until end of turn it gets auto van. When your opponent's rear guard's retired during your main phase, draw a card. I never get to use this because it literally gets damage checked or shoved to slow every time I want to use it. But basically, it's just really good because, you know, you can kill a lot. You can use Eugene to kill one. You can use Dustin to kill one. Branko to kill one. Nigel to kill one. Andreas to kill one. All around, there are many ways to kill cards, and you just get a draw out of it. Unfortunately, it only does it during the main phase, but that's still really good. It's interchangeable between any deck because it doesn't require Eugene. It just has Eugene on the art. So all around, I like this card. It is amazing. Gets you that hand card that you need, and it doesn't draw you out enough to where it's going to deck you out, but it draws you enough to where you have defensives. So 2 copies because it's really nice. And that's the deck. So hope you guys enjoy. All around, Eugene has been fun. A lot of people came down on Eugene at the start, along with Texas Orb, saying it wasn't going to be good, saying that it's just going to be really bad in the meta. It's the worst deck out there. A lot of people made jokes about it, about like being best deck, even though it was obviously a joke. And set 1, like it topped once maybe, and that was it. To my knowledge, it topped once. And that was pretty much it. Set 2, Bushy gave them something, and people stopped shitting on them, and they kind of came back rose from the non-existent ashes, because you can't come from the ashes if you were already dead, but they rose from the dead, I guess, and showed them why we should have respected them ever so slightly by making headway, and now in set 3, the boys, they've come back with a fighting fury. They have their fist ready for us in set 3, and I cannot wait to see where Eugene goes next with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.